What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the No Cap Space post game show. It's been a minute. It's been
We'll take a little break, a little summer vacation for us too,
But we back. Tyler, Greer, Andrew. The group stage has concluded. A pretty big win, honestly, for the United States to end it off against a Germany team that's got some names that 87-68. Now we kind of wait and see the result of this France and Australia game to see if the United States will top their group, because France has been doing their thing. The host country has been hooping. But
we are trying to see if we're going to be the number one seed going into the quarter.
Right. Right. With the point differential. Yes, correct. So yeah, so that's what we're now waiting to see. Oh, look at this, Andrew. You like your hat? That's interesting.
Shouts to wifey. It's not merch on sale yet, but she hit me with that Etsy and was like,
"No cap."
In honor of well, you know what? She got me the no cap because it was in honor of 500 subscribers on our Substack. That was a nice gift from the wife. So if you haven't subscribed
to Substack, what are you doing?
Because that's where a lot of our content has been.
Once we get to 1,000, we might just start throwing these out there for people. It's an off-white too for those that want the Asia merch. If it's gonna match the off-white, it's gonna match that off-white Asia merch.
We're gonna get a no cap one leg sleeve sweatpant going, and
no cap all the way up the leg,
down the leg, like. But let's dive into this game, and we can kind of talk, U.S. basketball as a whole, some of the Olympics as a whole as well. But for this game specifically, Greer, if you want to start, like, just general takeaways from it, anything that kind of stuck out to you?
Defense.
Mm-hmm.
I think they forced something like 18 or 19 turnovers against Germany.
23 turnovers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
23.
So then they just went on a flurry as the game.
Yeah. It was those runs that they went on where they just locked them down.
But yeah, the defense, right? Satu Sabally had been playing outstanding so far in this tournament, made the night really tough for her, which, is a little easy to do when you're keying in on like one supremely talented player for the opposing team. But she was looking like one of the best players in the world, and they kind of quieted that. The deflections, the almost kind of plays, right? Just swarming everywhere. And that is what, obviously unlocking 3-point shooting eventually, also very impressive. But the defense, because defense wins championships, and that's what's going to win this team gold and get them past the quarters and onto the later rounds in this tournament.
Yeah. You go first, Tyler.
Oh, I was just gonna say I like that you brought up the deflections, because I was at All-Star boots on the ground, and like deflections had been something that I heard in practice there, in the short little availability that we had at their practice for Team USA there. It's something that we've heard in media, like deflections, and it's I love the fact that it's specified as deflections, not turnovers. Deflections, because not every deflection is going to end up in a turnover, but just the disruption that causes, especially with the defensive talent and like just the length on this team that they can put on the floor at one time. I love the fact that it's deflections specifically, because I don't feel like you hear that as the emphasis as much as you just hear defense or turnovers or things like that. But them emphasizing deflections is because there was, I don't have a count on it, but there were absolutely deflections that just didn't end up in turnovers, but ended up in possessions that just did not go well for Germany. Okay. So I love that has been the emphasis for this team so far.
I think the big thing for me that I took away from it was, as much as the rest of the world is starting to catch up, Team USA is still so far ahead of everybody. And we see this on the men's side too, right? Where there's teams where you're like, oh, maybe they could challenge Team USA. And then Team USA comes out and is like, oh, by the way, like we're 15 deep of all NBA first teamers, right? Like the WNBA is very much the same, where you don't even necessarily need Asia and Stewie on the floor at all times, like at least one of them. Like Cheryl didn't even stagger the rotations where there's one of them on the floor at all points. Like you are able to take both of them off the floor and still build leads. And that shows you it's a depth thing. But I will say it is heartening, interesting, cool for the game itself to see a Germany, even for a quarter, right? I mean, this was a team that this is their first ever Olympics. They're kind of going through a golden generation right now. They got a lot of young kids on that roster, and they hung with Team USA for a quarter. And for the rest of the world, those are little victories in themselves. And not to downplay what Team USA is doing, but like, they won by 19, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, you know, like USA is dominant. We know this. We've been knowing this for, 30 plus years now. But I think it's been cool watching the level of competition increase, but also as an American, it's like it increases just enough, but you still know who's best. Like, you still know who runs this shit. And so I think that was kind of my big, yeah, literally like eagle sound. No, it's really cool. It's really cool just kind of seeing the global game growth, but also I think the important thing for me is just seeing how much Team USA is able to kind of get their feet under them, right? Like, there was a big discussion about how little of a run up they had and how some of these early games, they didn't look very in sync. That still kind of is happening here and there, but they're very clearly starting to unlock their ceiling of play. And when they have that ceiling, man, I mean, there's no team in the world, no roster construction here that even comes close to them. Like, I thought Germany had the closest. Niara gets hurt, and so now you're out a 6'4" player that can run the floor, which is what you need against a Stewie or an Asia. Belgium's out Julie Alemán. That's a guard that they need. Like, there's no roster that can hang with these guys for 4 quarters. And that I think is like the thing is, like, you have small, slight takeaways, but we're not drawing major conclusions about Team USA. We are, however, able to draw major conclusions about the rest of the world. And I think that's been pretty fun.
Yeah.
I think the host country is going to have something to say about that. I know they're hoping so, right? And that's why they kept their group together this entire lead up to the Olympics, right? Nobody's playing overseas. Nobody's, they
had them on lockdown. They were,
you know what I'm saying? So they didn't do that for nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know they want to give us everything. And to Andrew's point about seeing like the global game on display, right? You look at Germany and, they have 2 players that played in college this past year, right? And Sontag and Bessoir that played for UCLA, Fibic, like these are the Sabalis, like, yeah, they have, for people who are real WBB heads, like players that and like that is really cool. And as we play more and more teams, like that's going to be the case of a lot of the teams that are going to be making it into the later rounds of this tournament. So yeah, basketball and no cap. Like, I love that none of this is like new to us. You know what I mean? Like, these are players that we're super familiar with, and them to see them play for country and do pretty well is like really, really cool. But yeah, group stage. I also love that we saw all 12 players play today for the US.
Yeah.
I was wondering if they were going to let Kalia Copper out of the panic room yet,
Finally. Like, damn. Like,
kept her in the Olympic Village in Lille and said, show up a little bit later. It's like in Happy Gilmore where he's like, show up on the 10th green at 9 p.m. And he's there by himself while the sprinklers are going. Like, Cheryl Reeve, for the second game and third game, Cheryl Reeve was telling Kalia Copper, like, oh, the game's actually at 6 p.m. East Coast time, not Paris time. It's like, where is she?
Yeah,
she's arguably the best guard on this roster. And yeah, I see the comment here about like, Dragon DT, and honestly, look, I get it. Like they're resting legs, and they very clearly were today.
Chelsea as well didn't play in the second half along with DT.
But
nobody's dragging.
It is what it is. Like, it is what it is. They would win without her, right?
Yeah.
And they obviously, she said that this is going to be her last Olympic go round. And I bet the selection committee knew that when they were bringing, players in and said, all right, this is going to be her last run. So let's let her do one last run. But yeah, man, I mean, not everybody on this team is going to be doing like 15-5-5 by committee every single game. So, there's going to be quiet players. There's going to be hot players, and then there's going to be Asia Wilson, and that's kind of like
pretty much,
operating in a sphere of her own. A very pedestrian 14 for Asia today, but you can't have 20. Yeah, you can't have 25 and 15 every single game.
Yeah, I mean, depending on who's going to do it. I did want to point out. You talked about the depth a lot, Andrew. Jackie Young today. Fantastic. Like, man. And it's, her box score, 19 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 7 of 13, 5 of 8 from 3. And like, I can never get enough of like what Jackie was as a shooter to what Jackie is now. Like that progression, like really, like, and we've talked actually about this a pretty decent amount, like with Asia, like how her game has improved every year. But that Aces organization, like their core that has been around has improved genuinely every year. And I was kind of waiting to see Jackie like really get something kind of similar to Ka, like where it was like really like, because I'm not gonna lie, there's been times where I haven't loved the like 3 big lineups, like at times, like and where a Jackie or a Ka could fit in at that 3 position potentially. And I liked what we saw today to hopefully, in my opinion, incentivize a little bit more of that, because sometimes you just don't need 3 bigs out there, like spacing, whether it's AT playing the 3 or like whatever that kind of looks like. If you have Asia, Stewie, BG, like whatever form that takes. What we saw from Jackie today, and more so Jackie than Ka, but Ka as well, like that's honestly more so what I think I want to see next to Asia and Stewie, as opposed to another big. But
it's
Jackie
hard because AT, doesn't shoot.
Yeah, that's exactly. Defense, it's insane. She's nuts.
Absolute havoc. And she disrupted Germany so much today. Made Satu second guess even being a ball handler, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
in hell.
Yeah. So, when you can put her on just about anybody's best post player or a post player that also kind of dribbles and has the versatility that she has, it's like you can't also not play AT. You know what I'm saying? But that definitely clogs things up offensively, because she's just not a threat, like in the half court as much. So yeah, like she, like I don't envy Cheryl, right? I do.
Yeah,
not.
like it's much easier said than and the thing is like there's very few wrong answers. Like when you have this much talent on it, it's just about finding like the most right answer. And I think that could be a game by game thing and a matchup thing. And there's so many different factors that play into that. I just, like I said, I have been kind of waiting for this game from Jackie or Ka. And like, it was like I said, more so Jackie today, but I have been waiting for this one to show like that other, just kind of other variable that the U.S. can put in next to whatever bigs that they have in the game, because and really they haven't been shooting the 3 ball incredibly well by any means. So like just unlocking that today was also just big, and Jackie had 5 of them out of 9. So like she's the one today.
Well, and that's the thing too, that it makes Team USA so lethal, right? Like when I did our Olympic preview and I was like threat level to the USA out of 10, the teams that I thought on paper had some degree of threat was a team that, okay, you can shoot the 3, your guards are okay, and your bigs are good, or your guards are good and your bigs are okay. There was nobody that I looked at from like a complete roster perspective and was like, okay, yeah, like they could run with at least the starting 5. And that's the thing, is that there are no wrong answers, as you said, with the combinations of lineups that they can go, because it really just comes down to like how much are you going to beat this team by, rather than is a team actually going to catch you, because they have everything at every position. And I'm curious to see at what point and which country, does have the roster that eventually catches that. I don't think it's going to happen until like 15 years from now, or Juju Watkins decides that she is somehow a Spanish citizen. Like, I'm not going to get. I don't think we're going to get many of those.
Can Paige be Italian through Gino? Like, what can we do here? Like, what?
I feel like Caitlin's closest.
They've already won gold with U.S. under 18.
She's got to be Irish American, right? Like, I think. I know she's Catholic. Like Caitlin Clark, like. The Irish have a soccer player named Kieran Clark, so I guess like maybe you can hand them like the wrong birth certificate, and like all of a sudden, who's this Kieran Clark showing up for the Irish women's national team? But I will say this: it is really cool, because lost in this stupid bullshit argument over attendance and TV ratings, what the thing people are missing in order to prop up whichever agenda they find best. You're not understanding that this is the whole argument for like Clark's entrance and the rise of Asia and Stewie and Sabrina. Like, this is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be 3 million people watch Team USA, and all of a sudden you're like, damn, this Belgian lady is pretty damn good, right? And it's like, oh yeah, that's Emma Miesemann. Like, learn a bit about the former WNBA Finals MVP, right? Like, you're watching Germany and you're like, damn, like Satu Sabali is a baller. And now when you go back to the WNBA season, and hopefully if she, plays fully there, you're like, okay, I saw Satu during the Olympics, playing the United States and playing well. Now I'm going to watch a Wings game because of it, right? That I think is, the thing that we're not talking enough about because we're so fixated on arguing who deserves credit for it. But the reality is this is another good, time for women's basketball because of the exposure that it's getting and the amount of people that are watching other countries do this stuff.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, I guess, I don't know where everybody else is located, but
we're international, baby. We're everywhere.
We are. We're international.
Hello. Come on now.
Speaking of people you want to get in the transfer portal, there is an 18-year-old 6'6" player on the bench for France. Her name is Dominique Malonga. Learn the name.
Yeah.
When she's
on coming. She's coming.
Dog, I know everyone that's in this chat probably right now is thinking Juju Watkins is the prohibitive 2025 first-round draft pick, or actually,
no.
She'd be 26. Oh, yeah, Paige is 25. All right, you might be thinking Paige, you might be thinking Kiki Arioff, and I'm telling you, this girl, Dominique Malonga, might actually be the number one pick. You heard it here first. Watch this girl. She gets limited minutes so far, but because they've already advanced, I think she might get a little more minutes today as they start to rest their starters a bit. Dog, watch Dominique Malonga. I'm telling you, this kid is the truth. And this is what the Olympics are for, is for you to learn these names before they come over here. And you're like, where the hell did this person come from?
Mm-hmm. So, Liz Cambage ring a bell?
Uh-oh. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. What kind of bell are we ringing here?
An alarm.
Speaking of Liz Cambage, shout out to the Nigerian national team, baby.
I was just about to lob you up for that, Andrew.
The Nigerians have advanced. This is low-key one of the coolest stories of the Olympics.
So just you wrote about it on Substack, so make sure this is why you got to be tapped on with the Substack, because this has been a story that Andrew has been on. But Andrew, for those that haven't read the article, dive into what makes this story so special.
Yeah, so this is extremely cool. So back in 2022, Nigeria had some crazy dust up with the president of their basketball federation. And so in order to figure it out, the president of Nigeria basically called for an international ban on Nigerian basketball competition, right? So the women actually lost out on playing in the FIBA World Cup because their federation wouldn't let them play. The men almost lost out of Olympic qualifiers until FIBA and I think a couple other people stepped in, like Masai Ujiri stepped in, and Ime Udoka, back when it was fashionable for Ime Udoka to lend his voice on issues and be a credible voice in this space. But this group of women go in, they get into the Olympics. I gave them a 1 out of 10 on the threat scale, man. I was like they're happy to be here, right? They got a bunch of expat Americans. They've got college kids on their team, a couple of Ole Miss players. There's a lot of weird NFL connections. Like Chika Okonkwo's, I think, sister Amy is on this team. Prince Mukamara's sister Promise is on this team. So there's a lot of really interesting folks that comprise this roster. They come out, they upset Australia. Then all they got to do is beat Canada. They beat Canada this morning, and now they're the first African team in Olympics history to get to the knockout rounds in women's basketball. So for a team that almost did not have the opportunity to play international competition, they also got to France and got fucked by their own federation. They didn't get to go on the boat for the opening ceremonies, so they had to go from Lille to Paris only to be told they couldn't get on the boat. And then at the end of the opening ceremonies, you go on the boat, then you get taken to another area, then you get put on the buses and they take you back to the Olympic Village. They couldn't get back to the Olympic Village because they weren't allowed on the fucking boat. So they get on they have to stay in Paris overnight. They miss their first practice. They go into Australia with no practice, beat the Australians, and now they've beaten Canada and make it to the knockouts. That's the coolest part of all of it.
Actual underdogs, unlike the Canadian women's soccer team. Got it.
Yes. Yep. Talk to him, Greer, because I don't know how that got spun. But no, literally, this is when you talk about there's no reason they should be here. With everything that they have had thrown in their path, on top of just the hoops aspect of being on the court and just name recognition, going against WNBA names, things like that. There's no reason they should still
not even just WNBA name.
I'm saying they are top, like these are names in women's basketball, and you like I said, happy to be here,
Led by a head
and now
coach
they're staying for longer.
32 years old, right? Like could very well be playing.
Yes,
Yeah.
Like literally. It's,
honestly, justice for Shanae Aneka, man. They got to be sick watching this. It'd be like this would have been awesome if you had the Agumekes like running it with these team too. But here's what's more impressive: they're doing it without them.
They're doing it without them. Yep.
They're doing it without the Agumekes. Azine Kalu, man, like she has been nuts for both of those, the Australian and Canada game, just going crazy from three. And their head coach, Rena Wakama, I believe is her name. She's 32 years old. She is an assistant coach at Tulane. Ashley Langford, I believe, who went from Stony Brook to Tulane. Rena is her assistant. That's another person in the college basketball ranks that you would want to watch for a head coaching job, maybe as soon as next year, because the coaching job she's done with this team, and then knowing that she's an assistant coach at a Division I school, man, I mean, that's a really cool story, and it's something that if I'm a high major program looking for a good coach, I'm looking square at her this summer. Like, whoa, okay. On the other hand, not looking at Vic LaPena and this Canada team, because boy, man, I am so disappointed in the Canadians. The roster is so much better than this.
Yeah.
It is so much better than this. You could argue it's probably the second most talented roster in the field. For you to not only not win one single game in the entire group, but to get obliterated through the whole group stage, through all pre-exhibition. This feels like Canada basketball needs a bit of a turnover and like a turn down of their executive structure and their coaching structure. Because I don't know. It would be one like when Team USA doesn't win a gold medal, they scrap the whole fucking program and start over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if they win silver, everyone's fired.
It's called the Avengers on the men's side because they didn't win. Like
yeah, like you know, like we had a whole redeem team because the U.S. dared to not win a gold medal in like 04. You know what I mean? And so like for Canada, I feel like you got to take it a little bit more seriously. What this Olympic cycle is doing, because the growth of the game up north is exploding too. And they've got a golden generation that's kind of coming in. Silas Swords and Yvonne Ejim, Letitia Amahir, like they have kids. And if you want these kids to continue to grow, you cannot you can't not take advantage of your golden generation. I think they need a coaching change up there after this cycle's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I think it's imminent.
It has to be.
Yeah. Not even being able to win a game with, to your point, all the talent they have is just, that's not what they came over here for. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of been embarrassing, honestly, for our neighbors to the north. And again, just like way too much talent, too many names that have seen play. Guard rotation kind of stinks. But they have young, promising bigs who they've got to maximize this window here.
Yeah. Swords kicks ass, though. I gotta say, she's gonna be fun as hell for Michigan this coming season. For her to be in this situation as a incoming college freshman, essentially, and she's played well. Like she's played legitimately well. And yeah, Noelle Quinn being an assistant on this roster is very weird. Like, what do you think is going through her head as the head coach of the Seattle Storm, watching this? You know, watching LaPena kind of
back to Seattle.
Yeah, literally. Good God.
Yeah, it's been disappointing. Like, I think if you were to pick like the most exciting, most disappointing, I think we just hit the two, with Nigeria being the most exciting.
Well, hang on now, because in about 2 hours' time, it could be Australia.
It could be, you're right. Because what are we doing?
You know what I'm saying? We're talking about talent, right?
Yeah, facts. 100%. Come on now.
They're fielding a team of, I think everybody has touched the W already. Pretty much been drafted, right?
Damn near.
Right?
Let's see.
Hasn't come over yet, but she's been drafted, right? Or she will be.
Yep. Well, and that's a front court too, Greer, where it's like you're starting 4 and 5 as Alana Smith and Ezzy. Like it should be better than this.
Phenomenally for their
phenomenal in the W. Like they're playing at an all W level, the both of them, like third team honorable mention, mind you. But
Sandy, but I'm gonna do it for her because I know she would. You know, she uses any opportunity to slander. But what the hell's going on?
No, that's another one where like if y'all don't get like it might just be time because like how frankly there's no the line is very thin for like because you only get this every so often, it's every 4 years. Like you can't waste opportunities. Like you just that's funny. But like that's it's ridiculous.
Crazy.
Hey, where's the Liz popcorn gift when you need it?
Hey,
dog, I don't know, man. Liz Cambage in France playing the France feels like there's a lot of variance for some very bad shit to happen.
Something's gonna go wrong. I don't know you're level on what side, but something.
I don't know. Like if 0 is normal and 10 is Argentinian, I feel like Liz would be like in an 8 in there somewhere. Like I'm not going to go any deeper than that. Yeah. You can Google it. You can pull the Argentina France thing.
Yeah.
Oh man. But right now, the third place, this is a big one for Australia because if you win this, you jump up into that third place ranking to get to the knockouts right now. Currently, it's Belgium and China are the two that are leading with 4 points to Australia's 3. So this one is a decider about whether or not we're going to actually get a I think it's between China and Australia. I think Belgium's actually
which is crazy, right? China also, right? Like Li Yuru, Li Ming,
yep.
Like players, real players. And, this is a lot of federations are going to have to take a hard look at like what's going on
across the board. There's several.
These were teams that were all, top 4 in the FIBA ranking for years tournament. So what's going on?
I mean, look, shout out to noted Spanish citizen Megan Gustafson, man.
Pancake!
Let's go, dude. I want to know. Listen, I'm glad for Megan, but all I want to know is what is Pancake doing right now?
Pancake.
Does Pancake does Pancake the corgi I hope the owners are like letting Pancake watch Megan on TV. I want to see a video. Like, do you think the dog knows, recognizes her on television? I'm very curious about that. But
like vintage Iowa performances she's putting on for Spain right now.
It really is. Like, here's the thing though, man. People forgot. Like, Gustafson came into the league and was quiet, and she's still been quiet. She's a bench player in the W for all intents and purposes, right? But when Sabrina Ionescu was like going in 2019 to like win the Wooden and Naismith Awards, Megan Gustafson was right there with her because she was like a 29-10 player. I mean, some of her statistics that year were preposterous. And it's just fascinating to see her kind of come back up in Spain. What is Polar Bear doing? What is Megan Gustafson doing in Barcelona? Oh, that's so good. That's so good, man. But yeah, no, honestly, super fun tournament so far. Like Team USA is doing Team USA things, and that's fine. I'm having to find like the way that I got yelled at by South Carolina fans earlier this spring of being like, the interesting thing you need to find when they're winning by 40 is like the rotations. And I'm like, all right, I guess fine. I guess I'll figure that out. Right. I think that's what I've been trying to do with Team USA is like, wow, well, Cheryl brought this player out. I feel like Nikias and Mark, like I'm going heavy into the film, like the rotation. It's set like 4 minutes left in the third because it's, it's 66-46 and the Americans are just beating the crap out of whoever they're playing. But the international games have honestly been some of the funnest ones, man. I mean, this Australia-France game is going to burn the house down. I know about it.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm excited for it. I know. Well, before we wrap up, the one thing I do want to talk about that we haven't directly touched on, just generally with Team USA throughout these games, how fun is it having A'ja Wilson and Stewie on the court at the same time doing what they do best? Like, that has been the fun for me. Like, so, like, today, obviously, like, not as much. Like, it was a little bit more, like, kind of well-rounded team contributions. But, like, what these two have been able to do in this Olympics, like, it has never been, like, more clear of, like, who the top 2 players in the world are. Like as you're always watching across the board, like there's levels to this, and like A'ja has been phenomenal. Stewie has been phenomenal. Like this has just been, I love it. Like it's
wicked for real. It's wicked because Stewie gets you started.
Yeah.
hooping, turnaround J's, deflections leading out to leak out, right? Just ridiculous. And then it's like, okay, she goes to the bench, and then Asia comes. She turns on. Started the game slow, and then I'm just coming. I'm coming. And there's nothing you can do. And then hold on, here comes BG off the bench. It's disgusting.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, that's
literally you can't do it.
There isn't a solution.
Yeah, it's demoralizing. It's got to be.
I want to see. You know what I do want to see though? Just like I would love for us to get, because we had Team USA, Team WNBA, which I thought was a fun thing. I would love USA versus World in in the All-Star game. I would love for them to bring that format back and make it an annual thing, because it would be kind of neat to see all of the internationals. Like you get Satu, like you get Hanju, you get and not Marine, because Marine's not playing in the W currently, but like you would get
she'd be back.
She could be back, or like last year you get like a Mieseman on the roster. It would just be interesting because
back in the W. Like that is
right. God, she had 30 and 11 this morning. Like
she's the one player where I'm like,
she's Jokic.
Man, like
how she isn't here.
We are missing her. She's already been a Finals MVP, but we are missing her prime right now. Not watching her in the W.
You know who she reminds me of, and this is a name that I don't think a lot of people are going to be familiar with. Alina Yagapova. Folks, like this is like deep cut EuroLeague shit for people. So don't I'm not doing this as like you don't know who. No, I'm trying to put you on game. I'm not admonishing you for not. Alina Yagapova, look her up on YouTube. I'm going to put her name in the chat here for you to look. This girl is sick and real hoop folks, like coaches and people in personnel departments in the WNBA that I've talked to over the years have said if this woman had come to the WNBA in her prime, I think she's like 33 or so now, but had she come in her prime, she'd have been the best guard in the league. She played for Fenerbahce in Turkey. Like they won the Euro League like over and over and over with her. Her highlight tape is absolutely preposterous. Like and that's what Mieseman kind of feels like right now, is like I'm watching her play international ball and I'm like, yo, this is Yagapova stuff again, where it's like, why are you not over here? And I get why you're not over here, but like you should be over here because you're depriving us of this entertainment.
How selfish.
I want to see this.
How selfish of them.
But it's so true, man. Like I would love to get I'd love to get a world team put together in the All-Star game, because that's
right. You see a for Germany. You see I think Gabby was in the chat, obviously. I think I saw you guys talked about Marine. Like there are just so many hoopers all around the world who are, for whatever reason, not playing in the W this season or last. And it's like the talent out here is just amazing to watch. And if you aren't watching like EuroLeague or Euro Cup and some of that stuff, right? Because you could have watched Malonga play this last season, right? For her French team. All that stuff is like free on YouTube when the season is happening. So like tap into those games, because these are women who have been playing professionally since like 16, 15. And I see it in the woman who's playing for Minnesota this year, Xanda Lasini, who played in the W before.
Yeah, dude. Xanda Lasini.
Crazy game. And I still think the WNBA team was smashed because like they don't all play together. You know what I mean? It's not like, but like the talent would be there for sure.
Yeah. I think it would just be cool because you'd actually have good guards and good forwards on the team together to match the USA. Also, my parting thought here on the Stewie Asia thing, Aces fans, I'm going to look right into the camera and address you.
Oh, Lord.
Make it big.
I understand that you like to win. I understand that you want to win. I understand that you've won some championships and you feel good and you feel in yourself and you thrive off the negativity. But here's what I'm going to tell you right now. Stop with Stuja. We're not doing this shit in the WNBA. All right. Because I don't want that. You don't want that. You may think you want that, but you don't. You don't want KD Warriors in this league. You don't want to see that. You don't want to cheapen your GOAT's legacy by bringing Stewie onto the roster. You don't want to cheapen Stewie's legacy. You want the league to be fun. And in a time when we need it to be fun, don't make it not fun by advocating that the best two players end up on the same damn roster together. I'm tired of Stooja, all right? I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't need it. We don't want it. We don't need it. This is a fun thing to do every 4 years, but I do not want to see it in W every year. I admire the dedication to trying to make sure that the Aces are the best damn team that was ever forged, but enough. Like, leave it. All right. We already complained enough about the two teams, the Liberty and the Aces making the finals a foregone conclusion. I don't want to have to make the Aces a foregone conclusion. We already have a South Carolina. We do not need another. Thank you. And rent.
There we go. I guess that feels like a good place to end it off.
I couldn't hold it in, dog. I saw Stooja tweets this morning. I was like, fuck. I was like, come on, guys. Like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we doing this stuff? This is LeBron. This is Le GM. You know, I don't want Le GM. We saw how that goes.
Like,
yes. AGM. A''GM.
All right, well, that feels like a great place to. I'm glad you got that off your chest. It felt like that. You felt like you needed it.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
make sure.
Get us out of here. Get us out of here before I start really getting us in trouble.
There we go. All right. Well, make sure that you guys are tapped in across the board with us. You can find everything down in the description below. Substack has been popping off while we haven't been on YouTube as much. Our Substack's still been going with 5 outs, with Olympic previews, with Overtime Select getting started up, a brand new league. So that's something to be on the lookout for as well. Some of the top high school talents in the nation, all in Atlanta right now. We're going to have coverage really for it all, especially as we go into the knockout stages here for the Olympics. So make sure you stay tapped into everything, no cap space, and we'll see you next time.